Hi there. I hope that you are doing really well today. And today in this video, I've got some big questions to ask you. And what do you think? Are we living in a depression right now? I think most of you would say no, we're not. And I'm right there too. But I read all your comments that you send me. And a lot of you have it really bad right now. I mean, are really, really struggling. We're not talking about just a couple of people. We're talking a lot of people. And, in this video, I want to talk about the real big question. Could we survive a new Great Depression if it started right now? And that is the big one. I want to start off by, saying that, in 1929, all it took to start that was the stock market crashing, and then followed by a run on the banks and people panicking. And that just set disaster in motion. And that's what happened with that. Now, today, I'm sitting here and I'll tell you what, it's very, very scary. Our banking system, we have banks that are shutting down all the time. Our economy is trash. It's all over the place. Our infrastructure, our power grid, is so fragile. All these things, and of course the stock market, they've been predicting that to crash again forever. It hasn't, but it does some crazy things. All it would take is just a little nudge from some bad actors maybe that snuck into our country. It would, it would fall like a house of cards, and nobody'd be ready for it. It'd be a horrible thing. I was curious, and I asked AI what would happen. AI, that evil little monkey that's probably going to turn on us here eventually. Well, I wanted to ask AI while it was still playing nice. And I asked it, what did people do to survive back in 29 to survive this? And the big question was, what would we be able to survive now if that happened? And I'm not going to read you the whole thing, just kind of talking points, but I found it really, really interesting. Now, the first thing it said, how people survived the Great Depression. Community and family support, that's kind of a no-brainer. People gathered, friends, neighbors, family, and helped each other grow food, fix things. For myself, I have a group, a small group of people. A lot of people call it a MEG. And what that means is a mutually assisted group. And in my MEG, it's very diverse. And a lot of them are young people. One young guy he's actually, two of the people in the group are state troopers here in Indiana. One of them is active military. He's a Marine reservist. Together they have a lot of great information on security and how things happen. Also, I've got an older gentleman in there, a little younger than me, and he is what he does for a living, technology. Really good at setting up radios, encrypted stuff. Anyways, I'm not going to get into all that, but my point is, it's really important for us to have a group of people. I trust my life with these people, and it's not just guys, there's some ladies in the group also, but I trust my life and my family's life to them. And that was, it's just important now as it was back in 1929. The next thing it said, which is great, bartering and alternative economies, meaning trading things and and doing things, what we would call now side hustles. And I'm really into the whole side hustle thing. I think that would work, really well if someone needed their pants stitched back then, or if someone, baking goods, things like that, just work around properties. They did that. Bartering. I'm gonna mention my grandfather a lot in a lot of these videos, because I learned so much from him, and he was such a great guy. If you don't know, he was dirt poor. His family was dirt poor before the Depression even happened, and so he was young, poor, and he went hungry all the time. His father was an alcoholic, and he was a kind man, but he spent all the family's money on alcohol, which it's horrible. I felt so bad for my grandfather. But anyways, he learned at a really, really young age to farm. He worked on a watermelon farm here in Indiana, and that helped. He also trapped. He trapped muskrat. He trapped different things. He sold the fur, and he also he ate that food too. You do things that you have to. Now, the reason I'm bringing him up also is that back in the day, they didn't have health insurance. He didn't have health insurance, and he was raising two girls, my mother and my aunt. He was a farmer still, and what he would do, it's weird, on his property, he owned almost 200 acres of farmland. And hundreds, if not thousands of years ago, there was an Indian camp on his property. And even when I was younger, I was able to walk way back on that farmland, and I could see there was a hill that came down, and there was a depression. You could actually still see charred rocks laying around from these Indians. Well, anyways, my mom would tell me that she could go back on the farm lane, and with a basket, she could almost fill that basket full of arrowheads. They were all over the place. It was very active. There was a lake, an old lake next to it. It was this kind of marshy now. I think they partially drained it, but it was a perfect area for Indian to live back then. But anyways, my point is that he traded those arrowheads to the family doctor, because the doctor was into Native American artifacts, and it worked out really well. And even when I was a young boy, I went to that doctor. Dr. Roush was his name. Went in there, the whole wall was full of these beautiful plaques with arrowheads, designed in there. Beautiful arrowheads, spearheads, stone knives, everything. And they all came from my grandpa's land. So bartering, and I like bartering, trading things for services. I do that with my friends, and it works out great. That's something we would definitely have to go to. Enough about that. Government programs. Now, they did introduce a lot of programs to try to save people back then. And the New Deal, of course, CCC, that would be the Civilian Conservation Corps. Now, that was a really cool group. They actually, right next door to me is a state park called Pokagon State Park. They built that place. You wouldn't believe the beautiful stonework that they did, and they did that all over the country. That was a great program to get people working out there again. Let's see here. Social Security Act, that's when that started. I'm not sure. I didn't take a deep dive. Provided some safety nets. This is what AI is telling me. Being frugal and being able to adapt. That again is a no-brainer. Repairing your own clothes and fixing your car. I had one of the subscribers here commented that they got an old, wheel horse? I'm sorry if I forget the exact brand. I think it's wheel horse. An old tiller. And they got a good deal on it, and it needed repairs. And he said that I think when he was completely finished, he had $600 in it. but I think it was they sell for like $3,200 or $3,600. So that was very good. That was very frugal. And I'll tell you what, that tiller will last him for many, many years because they're built a lot better than this cheap Chinese stuff that we're getting over here. One thing that surprised me, and maybe it won't surprise all of you, but migration. People move their families to where work was. And, that seems kind of common sense, but that happened a lot. Now, people move for one reason or another, but you are actually moving towards the jobs. So that's pretty much what AI told me, how people survive. Now, here's the big question, and I find this very interesting too. I then ask it how we would survive today if that happened. And AI said, bottom line, we'd probably survive, but it would be very challenging. Safety nets and technology we have today would help, but the scale and nature of modern economies and social structures might make it a different kind of struggle. Plus, mental health and social isolation would be bigger issues now. Now, this is where I disagree with AI. Well, I guess AI is under the assumption that we would have our technology and infrastructure still working. I'm kind of going to the scenario if that has failed, and that would be completely catastrophic for everybody. I mean, millions upon millions of people would perish if that happens. I mean, kids alone, if the internet, oh my gosh, if the internet goes out for 20 minutes, they're losing their minds. But, the other thing, you'd have no lights, you'd have no heat. And that's where, again, it'd be devastating. And what's so scary is we're not that far from it. It would take a little nudge. And you and I both know that there are people out there that want to destroy this country. I mean, if you don't believe that, well, you need to wake up, because look around. It's happening. So those are, I found that interesting from AI. Now you look at my notes and get back on my train of thought. Talk about how we could survive now. And that, and again, how we would survive now, bartering, doing odd jobs, those side hustles, baking. Again, get a group of people that you can rely on and build a little community. Back in the Depression, there was like tons and tons of these micro communities. And, I think that the farmers did well most of the time. But, my grandfather did not trust the banks, at all. And rightly so. He saw so many farmers and just people in general get their homes foreclosed on for, there was no bailouts back then. They lost everything. So, he put just enough money in the bank to pay the bills. Everything else he hid. I mean, he hid. It was, and that's going to be another story, I think. I've got a really good story about that too. Watch for that, about what my grandfather did and how he got his money and what he did with his money. It's very interesting. I know there's people that subscribe here that are doing really well, and they've planned for years for things like this, and I myself have done that also. Now, am I in a perfect situation? No. My business closing, put me in a bad spot. But I've been, prepping for many, many years, and, storing food and gardening. I've done all that. I've alternative energy. While I was working, I put a hand pitcher pump right next to my house. So I've got water, indefinite water, which is, great. And then my last video, you saw me, you know, shooting in the shed. Well, I've got a little wood burner for that shed, and I've got wood. I've got enough wood to get me through the winter. So I've got, you know, you need to have plan A, B, and C to get through rough times. One of the best things that I did that helps us a lot now is I bought a freeze dryer while I had the restaurant. And yeah, they're a bit of an investment, but man, it's really paying off now. I did sell it because it's big and it takes more of a power. It takes like a 20 amp dedicated circuit to do that. Sold that, but I am going to buy, when we get our smaller house, I'm going to get a smaller one so it can just plug right into the wall. But the freeze dryers, you know, I know a lot of you probably can, but freeze drying is so much better than that. You have the initial cost of it, but man, I freeze dried. What was great in my situation with the restaurant is I could buy things when it was on sale, and you can too at the store. When you garden, the great thing about freeze drying is you lose no nutrition with it. You don't have to add salt to it. You know, like some of the things that you have to add salt. And then when you add water to it, it is just as fresh and good as it was the day that you did it. I'm eating things now that I did in 2019. And it's wonderful. I did, you know, I grilled chicken and shredded it. I did beans and rice. I did a lot of Mexican type things, fish, seafood. I did everything, fruit, vegetables. It all freeze dries really, really well. And now we're eating that. We're supplementing because it's so hard to go to the store now. It's so expensive that when we do go to the store, we buy staples. You know, we'll buy beans, rice, whatever. And I've got plenty of that anyways. That's just a for instance. And then I've got a lot of the proteins, you know, freeze dried that we add to it. It saves us a bunch of money. So, and I know there's a lot of you that are living paycheck to paycheck or Social Security check to, check, and it's hard to make it on that. And, you might go a week without having any money to buy anything. And, it breaks my heart. I'm sorry for you. There are, you can make extra money if you're on disability and Social Security, and maybe some of the side hustles I mentioned earlier. We're all in this together, and whether you're doing really, really well for yourself now, which is great, or you're really struggling, we're all in this together. And I think we're going to have, times are going to get more challenging. It's going to get worse, I'm afraid, before it gets better. I really believe that. But we'll all stick in there together. I thank you very much for watching this video. Until next time.